Olá, pessoal da Bocaina, eu sou o Lucas Perillo e estou aqui na Argentina agora, num centro que chama Crilar, e esse ano é nesse lugar que está acontecendo o Course, que é um curso de identificação de Hymenoptera, que é um dos grupos mais importantes dentro do grupo de insetos. É o grupo que eu trabalho, e eu estou aqui com o idealizador da ideia, que é o Michael Gates. Michael Gates, it's nice to talk to you.
Hi.
And to start our conversation, I'd like to know, where did you came from, where did you do your graduate studies, and where are you now?
Okay. My name is Michael Gates. I currently hold a doctorate in systematic entomology, and I work as a research entomologist for the United States Department of Agriculture, and my office is in the National Museum of Natural History at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. It's a great place to work. So how did I get there? So educationally, I've always had a fascination with biology, the natural world, living systems, especially insects.
Great.
Because they're so strange and unusual and foreign to people. And my first experience with an insect is documented photographically by my father. When I was 18 months old, I was naked, running on the sidewalk, and I was eating ants. So that was sort of it foretold the tale to come of my life. So for formal training in entomology, after high school, I went and obtained a Bachelor of Arts at a small liberal arts school called Hendrix College in Arkansas in the southern United States. And I got my degree, and I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do now? I've always loved entomology, so I said, let's try applying for master's programs in entomology. So I did, and I was accepted at Oklahoma State in Stillwater, Oklahoma, in the United States. And I got a master's degree studying the population dynamics of insects that attack and eat stored grain, in this case wheat, in giant commercial bins. And so as part of my sampling to determine how insects entered the bins and how far they penetrated into the grain mass, I was sampling minuscule parasitic wasps that were following the beetles, typically beetles, into the grain, and they would attack the beetles, paralyze them, lay an egg on or in them, and then their larva would hatch and kill the beetle in this grain mass. And some of these wasps are a millimeter in length, and we were finding them 7 or 8 feet below the surface of the grain mass.
Wow.
And the keys we had at the time to identify these wasps were awful, and it was very, very difficult to identify them. I had to identify all the insects that I sampled in the grain mass over the course of the season. So I became fascinated by them. They were very challenging, they were small, but they were beautiful, metallic colors, all the colors of the rainbow, and beautifully sculptured and fascinating. So I said, well, I'm nearing the end of my master's. I think parasitic Hymenoptera are amazing. I would like to apply for PhD programs in systematic entomology, studying parasitic wasps. And a lot of my advisors discouraged me. They said, oh, you'll never get a job doing that. Don't be a dummy. Get a job, working in spraying insecticide and killing insects. And I was like, well, no, I don't want to do that. I love these wasps. And so they said, okay. So anyway, the joke's on them now because I've got a permanent job. But back to the tale of my education, I was applied to several PhD schools and accepted and selected to go to University of California at Riverside in Southern California. And so that was a big change, moving from the central United States to Southern California. Very, very different culture, amazing habitats, deserts, which I fell in love with. And so I began a program there studying parasitic wasps. And I revised a subfamily at the world level called Biologia. It's in the family Eurytomidae. And this family is one of 19 families in the superfamily Chalcidoidea, and these are all small parasitic wasps. A giant Chalcidoid would be about 30 millimeters.
Wow.
That would be massive.
It's a big group, isn't it? The Chalcidoid.
Right now, there are about 28,000 described species and estimates of up to 500,000 in just Chalcidoidea alone. For insects, the numbers can go up to 35 million or higher, depending on who's doing the number crunching. So there's a lot of work. We need more people to study Chalcidoids and all parasitic Hymenoptera, because there hasn't been a huge amateur following for them. Because they're so small, you need a microscope. It's not like, oh, I'm collecting a butterfly, isn't it pretty? Look, it's in my collection. Oh, look at my shiny beetle, isn't it pretty? A lot of amateurs have studied butterflies and beetles, and I'm not discounting them. I wish we had amateurs studying Chalcidoidea, but it takes special equipment, and it's kind of hard.
And they have importance in economy, or?
Yes, so when I say parasitic wasps, we use the term parasitoid, and the term parasitoid just means it's a parasite that kills its host. So almost all parasitic wasps are parasitoids. They kill their hosts. Unlike if I had a tapeworm living in my intestine, it's just a parasite. It won't kill me. I'm just feeding it as I eat. And it wants me alive, so it stays alive. Parasitoids don't. So if you can think of any kind of pest, mealybugs, scales, whiteflies, corn earworms, stink bugs, beetles, anything that bother humans or the crops we grow, in all likelihood there's more than one species of parasitic wasp that attacks them and kills them. And so when we do that purposely, when we seek parasitic wasps to attack a problem pest or an invasive species, that's called biological control. And it's a natural solution, and if done right, it can be very effective, and it can continue in perpetuity. Unlike pesticides, you have to keep spraying. The insects will ultimately develop resistance. They don't develop resistance to parasitoids because the parasitoids and their hosts have been co-evolving for millions of years.
E eu estou aqui, pessoal, justamente para fazer parte de um curso que chama Course, como eu falei no início, e o Michael Gates é um dos idealizadores desse projeto. Então, eu vou perguntar para ele aqui agora de onde surgiu essa ideia, que é muito interessante, que é uma das coisas também que a Bocaina tenta fazer, que é capacitar as pessoas em diversas áreas. So, Michael, tell us about the idea of the Course. What are the people that are involved?
Okay.
How many students do you have reached?
So Course is a modification of what was originally called the Parasitic Hymenoptera Training Session. And now our predecessors at the Natural Museum, they began this course because there's a demand for people who wanted to learn about parasitic Hymenoptera, especially as it related to biological control. So this started in 1980, approximately. And it went on probably irregularly, but more or less on average every other year, all the way up through 2000. And that was the last offering of that as a parasitic Hymenoptera training session.
Just in the U.S. or?
It would travel the world. It was offered in Hawaii. I believe it was offered in China. But usually it was domestic, and they wouldn't move as much as we're currently moving the Course around. And so then I was finishing my postdoc, and then I got hired at USDA, and I said, wow, we haven't had a Course for a few years for a parasitic Hymenoptera training session. I said, why don't we resurrect it? So in 2006, I got some of my colleagues together and said, we should do this. And so we called up the Southwestern Research Station in southeastern Arizona, which is a beautiful part of the world, by the way. Said, we'd like to do a course, training on parasitic Hymenoptera. I said, oh, great. And so we had it, and it was really fun. And we had maybe 18 students.
Wow.
And usually we get students from all over the world. For that course, we had a couple guys from India that came to Arizona. And so then, over the past few iterations, we've changed the name to Hyme Course, and we've had it in 2008 in Dominican Republic, 2010 at Rocky Mountain Biological Laboratory in Colorado, 2012 in Sweden, 2014 in Maine, and now 2015 in Western Argentina. And we changed the name to Hyme Course, and we said, let's expand it and cover the entire order. And so we did. So now we're covering everything. If you want to really learn about bees or ants, take the bee course or the ant course. We'll give you basic coverage. And then we decided, why don't we expand it even more and teach people about curating insects? How do you pin it? How do I label it? What do I do with the specimens from my project? Why do I do that? Because a lot of that information is not being taught in courses anymore. It's all, here's how we grind the specimen and extract the DNA, and then we're going to amplify it and everything. That's fine, but a lot of these other basic skills are being left behind.
Yeah.
And so that's where we are now. And two of my colleagues from work at the Natural History Museum have participated with every Hyme course, and we varied instructors on the other groups, and right now we have one instructor doing all the aculeates, so stinging bees, wasps, ants, the thing most people think of when they think wasp.
And then here we have identification tips, and we have to go to the field to catch the stuff. It's a complete course, isn't it?
The course, it lasts 7 days in its current form, and we like to teach everyone about collecting, how to collect, where to collect, why to collect, what are we collecting, what do you do when you get it, how do you identify it, all of those things. And at the end of this course, we're actually having a symposium, which we've done once before, but it's fun to have the attendees for the course tell us why they're here, what is their research.
Sure.
Then some of us will offer a talk on our research, and so that's how we'll end the course this time.
And this year we have participating Brazil, US.
We have Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Honduras, Hawaii, Angola.
That's right.
And a lot of students from the United States, one student from Canada. But we usually get an international group, and when we do our international offering of Hyme Course, we try to do that every other year, and if we can, we try to go somewhere where there may be students that can't afford to travel from Argentina to Sweden.
Yes.
It's like, but I can travel from Argentina to Argentina and take the Hyme Course.
Yeah.
And basically every course we've had, we fill it up. We have at least 15, usually around 20 students. And it's always great fun, and we just love sharing Hymenoptera, and we just hit it hard. We work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, so if you can handle that, look on hymecourse.org for the next Hyme Course.
That's really a great idea, and congratulations for the idea. And the persons who want to participate or know about it, there's a website.
Yep. So hymecourse.org is where we have information about the current or the most recent Hyme course. We have an archive with some images and information about previous Hyme courses, and that's where we post the upcoming Hyme course, usually at least 3 to 4, 5 months in advance. But whenever we offer a Hyme course, we'll send out advertisements through entomological societies or some online list servers like Taxicom or Entomol or Ecolog, things like that. So we try and get the information out to anyone that might be interested.
Great. And just to finish our talk, do you have any website or an article or a book to the people who want to know about the Calcidoideae and other groups?
Yes. One of the predecessors my predecessor in Hymenoptera Course is named Eric Grissel, and he published an interesting book called Hymenoptera and Gardens. And so for those people that like plants, gardening, and learning about Hymenoptera in their gardens, that's a good entry-level book. If you're getting a little bit more serious, or you're a researcher and you're encountering Chalcidoidea specifically, I recommend the Universal Database of Chalcidoidea, and it's hosted by the British Museum, but it contains all the literature citations, probably over 60,000 primary references for Chalcidoidea. It lists all of the known described chalcidoid taxa, all of their insect and plant associates. You can download lists from regions like the Neotropics, or from a country like Argentina, or from a county, like Howard County in Maryland. So that's a great website.
Sure.
And if you want to learn more about us, you can visit the Systematic Entomology Laboratory website of the USDA.
Great. It's a great pleasure to talk to you. I hope we're going to have a good course.
We will.
During this week.
We already are.
That's good. And thank you very much. Pessoal, então, obrigado. Acompanhe a gente aí e até a próxima. Abraço.